Hello and welcome to Pardon the Integration, Make Dollars and Cents of HCI. I'm your host, Ed Hannan, and my guest today is Anthony Dilorio, Director of Data Center Business Development with Lewan Technology. Thanks so much for joining me this afternoon. And the way our program works, once again, is we have three topics we'll discuss throughout the broadcast in 3 minutes to talk about each of the topics. Our first topic is what exactly is HCI? Second topic, working with HPE. And our third and final topic, where do we go from here? And as you watch today's program, you'll see a countdown clock on the bottom of your screen. But let's get started, Tony, with our first segment. What exactly is HCI? And first question is basically that. What is HCI?
So first and foremost, Ed, thank you for having me today and allowing me to address your audience. So I'm really excited about that. Fundamentally, we have to look at the definition of HCI, and there's a reason, and I will get to that. But HCI is defined as hyper-converged infrastructure, and it's software-defined IT infrastructure that virtualizes all the elements of conventional infrastructure, okay? So HCI includes virtualized computing, software-defined storage, and virtualized networking, all right? So I think that's fundamental that we understand that definition. I say that because I'm noticing within our industry that we're diluting some of that definition, right? We are seeing lately, call it within the last year, we are seeing some software companies that come up with a nice software-defined solution, and there's nothing wrong with it. But without that underlying hardware there, we're actually missing out on pieces of value that HCI come with. And just to name one real quick in order for us to move on is a single pane of support, right? If you've got an HPE underlying server stack and you're layering on somebody else's software-defined storage, guys, you may get level 1, but level 2 and 3 escalations, you're calling other people.
Single pane of support. That's a new one. I've never heard that before. I like that. Next question. What are your customers' pain points?
That's a tough one. It really is because the profile of customers are different, right? And so without trying to go down that profile road, because we don't have time, I will just say that we've found over the last few years of successful HCI, and that's really, HCI has been a validated solution for not many years, right? So just over the last few years, we're seeing that typical HCI customers looking to accomplish one or more of the following, and that's increase virtualization, consolidate hardware footprint, control hardware costs, simplify IT management, simplify IT support, implement standardizations, reduce the cost of expensive data center migrations, and or create a more flexible IT offering for their end users.
Sounds painful. How does HCI help address all those pain points?
First, HCI is built for virtualization. So I think we have to understand that. HCI allows controllable scalability, predictable budgeting, single pane of glass, as I mentioned before, right, when it comes to the management and support. And that is key. I only mentioned support before, but management is also very key there. So I don't want to skip over that. And then patching, bringing patching and supportability beyond that stack. And then obviously what I had said before as well, but just to expand on that, because the questions are very, very, very close.
Let's move to our next segment, working with HPE. When it comes to the HCI business, how has HPE helped Lewan Technology?
Yeah, so HPE's solution offering brings our customers a proverbial easy button, if you will. And the reason I say that is most HCI solutions will help solve some business problems. However, it's only an issue here or there. It doesn't necessarily enable them for the future. And in some cases it may, but a lot of cases it doesn't. So what HPE brings to it is a plethora of options and flexibility that we can configure a system that doesn't just meet today's initiative, but also gives the executives, the business leaders, an idea of where they can take IT for value in the future.
We kind of talked about this in your last one, but not so much has it helped your business, but how have the HC products from HPE, how are they helping your customers push through to your customers?
Kind of goes hand in hand a little bit in my opinion, but based on the business needs or requirements, HPE can offer customers an additional flexibility. I know I mentioned that a couple of times, but it is huge and it is a differentiator for HPE. So within the HCI subset solution is a big amount of HPE flexibility. So regardless of the workload or SLA to your end users, an HPE solution will meet those initiatives between DHCI, SimpliVity's agile ability to offer up solutions, and then, and we kind of discussed this briefly, but their partnerships, their ecosystem, and one of those including Nutanix.
And I know that the HCI marketplace is very, very crowded. You could pick from almost anyone when it comes to partnering. How did you land on HPE, and what has continued to make them the right HCI partner for you?
Yeah, so I think the first and foremost is nobody would argue with the fact that HPE is producing best in class or first class products. So I think that has to just be spoken as a baseline. And then I hate to sound like a broken record, but our partnership with HPE is as strong as it is because of how we've seen them solve some of those problems that I articulated earlier. And just in the sake of time, I won't go through it before, but I gave you guys a laundry list of what the accomplishments or what we're seeing as value coming out of these solutions for our customers. So really, that's why I don't want to sound like a broken record, but really it does stick within that for us, Ed.
Our final segment is forward looking. And I always like the last part of these because it kind of, you get to get the crystal ball out. And as we record this, we're in the fall of the year. So there's a lot of natural just looking forward that goes on in businesses and in life. Where do we go from here? And the first part of this is, how do your customers sort through this crowded marketplace that we just talked about?
Fundamentally, I would coach my customers or my business leaders out there to look and or develop, if you don't have one, but to look at your 3 to 5 year IT roadmap. So, and that is extremely important, right? Because the fundamental or differentiators out there between these solutions are really going to be the gotcha that allows the data to drive you into a solution, right? So I say that methodically because that is what it is, guys. It's a data-driven campaign, right? So as we look at that, we really need to look at how most HCI solutions will work with, or they're hypervisor agnostic, as those sales reps will tell you when they get into the meeting, right? So most of them will work with VMware. That's really what that means. Now, not all of them will work with Hyper-V. So if you're heavily invested in Microsoft, that may be a product delineation point for you naturally. You don't even have to go in and evaluate it, right? Don't spend the time going through the demos. But on the other hand, once we can clear out that, then we can dive into really what are those other differentiators that meet the operational success you're looking for in IT. And that's where you differentiate the other ones.
We talked earlier about how HPE helped your HCI business. We talked about how HPE's products, HCI products, helped your customers. Let's flip this around. How does Lewan Technology help its customers make sense of this HCI marketplace?
Yeah, so I can honestly, this is where I'm probably most comfortable, right, Ed? So I can answer this, but I can sum it up really quickly for you. We assist and coach our customers to better understand their business through the eyes of IT, okay? So most humans will tend to get busy, right? More so nowadays than ever, right? We're asked to do more with less. So when we get busy, we tend to be reactive and not proactive. A reactive mindset will have customers looking at IT as a cost center, and then they'll just do the minimum to make sure they're accomplishing the goal that they need to, right? Whether that's pushed down or it's their goal, but the minimum in order to meet that and move forward because they've got to accomplish other things on their plate. A proactive mindset turns IT completely around. It does an absolute 180. Now you're looking at it as, how can we turn this into a revenue center? And you're looking at what additional features, what additional benefits can I get out of these solutions? And now you're looking at it strategically, and you're not looking at it as checking the box.
Last question. What's the first thing that your customers, or even your potential customers, folks who, watch and listen to this program, what's the first thing they should do when it comes to HCI?
Fundamentally, first thing that you do, have an open conversation with your trusted advisor, your partner advisor, right? You could go to the manufacturers, but remember the manufacturers are paid to be biased. So go to your trusted advisor, right? So that's the first and foremost thing that you do. Obviously, I can speak for Lewan as how we operate as trusted advisors. But we're obviously entering that meeting to have a customer tell us what they're looking to accomplish or what the goal is. But the customer should expect that their trusted advisor will be explaining the foundation of what that solution represents. Since we're focusing on HCI specifically, we need to boil that down. What is HCI, right? What is HCI going to do for your business? And I don't mean the definition like I gave you before. I mean, what is it in the IT operationals realm or IT operations realm? And so what I mean by that is, if we boil it down, it's a buy versus build situation, right? So all these customers out there, all of you listeners, I guarantee you have some really talented IT professionals, but you have to ask yourself a fundamental question. Can you afford to have that strategic IT professional focusing on patches, focusing on uptime and availability, focusing on support and management of the cluster, when you could really just buy it and let it run. Because that's what HCI represents, is a guaranteed solution, right? They've looked, tested, and adopted, and only will allow you use the patches that they know will work in every facet of the solution. So you really have to go back to that buy versus build. If you can afford it, build one. But most of my customers overwhelmingly come back to me and say, man, I'll pay a little bit of tax just to get to market faster. And it's time to market for you guys, right? On the customer side, it all comes down to time to market, whether it's a product or you've got competitors.
Well said. That is all the time we have for today. Tony, thanks so much for joining me today. And before we go, Derek, some quick takeaways I have from today's program. And as you heard, we covered a lot of ground here. So these are just three, but as you listen back to the program, you'll probably come up with some of your own. Number one, keep one eye, or if not both, on your customers' pain points so you can assess how HCI can help. Number two, HPE's HCI products will help you help your customers. And finally, it's your job, maybe with some help from HPE, to help your customers sort through that HCI marketplace and make sense and a few dollars of it all. Thanks again for watching. Once again, I'm Ed Hannan, and you've been watching Pardon the Integration, Make Dollars and Cents of HCI. Have a great day.